Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 18b, with the words at the very top of the Amud, with the words Mi Shema'at Le. Did you hear him distinguish between the different parts of the payment? There is no aspect of innocuousness in the case of pebbles. Rather, when Rabbi Elazar says that the owner of the dog pays the full cost of the damage in a case that is similar to one of propelled pebbles, he was referring to a case where the owner of the animal was forewarned with regard to this matter, and they disagree about this one point. One sage, Rabbi Elazar, holds that there is forewarning with regard to propelling pebbles. Therefore, if there was testimony given in a court that a particular animal regularly propels pebbles in the course of its walking, I don't understand this. If an animal propels pebbles, just like on a physics level, it's not gonna fly that far, and it's not gonna have that much power to do any damage. A pebble it probably never happened and never will happen. And this is one of those things where you learn the Torah for its own sake. Must be. Okay, back to the thing. And the animal is deemed forewarned, and its owner pays the full cost of the damage. In one sage, the first Tana holds that there is no forewarning with regard to pebbles. Apparently, payment for damage caused by pebbles is paid from the body of the animal. I would say, it's such a freak thing to happen. It should be, I don't know, quarter. I don't know, whatever. The Gemara asks, but if this is the case, then the dilemma raised by Rava concerning whether there is a forewarning for propelling pebbles, or there is no forewarning for propelling pebbles, can be resolved from this dispute. If the dilemma is raised according to the rabbis, in other words, the first Tana, there is no forewarning for propelling pebbles. If the dilemma is raised according to Rabbi Elazar, there is forewarning for propelling pebbles. Amar lach Rava kimi boil li ledidi aliba de Rabbanan depligi ale de sumchus. Aval hacha bein Rabbanan bein Rabbi Meir kesumchus severe lahu. De Amar tzroros nezik shalem mishalem. The Gemara answers that Rava could have said to you, when I raise the dilemma, I do so specifically according to the opinion of the rabbis who disagree with Sumchus and hold that one pays half the cost of damage in the case of pebbles. But here, in this brisa, both the rabbis, in other words the first Tana and Rabbi Elazar, hold in accordance with the opinion of Sumchus, who says that in the case of pebbles, one pays full cost of the damage. I wonder why Sumchus says that. Pay full cost for tzroros. Who knows? And what is the reason that the rabbis say that one pays half the cost of the damage in the case of pebbles? Okay, we have the opposite. Let's see here. It is in that case of pebbles, the animal acted atypically and was not forewarned. Yeah, that's logical. That's what I would say myself. I would say even less than half, but anyway. And in this brisa concerning the dog that lit the stack of grain, the dispute between the first Tana and Rabbi Elazar is with regard to the issue that is subject to the dispute between Rabbi Tarfon and the rabbis. In other words, the halacha in the case of damage caused by an innocuous ox on the property of the injured party. The Gemara rejects the parallel between the opinion of Rabbi Elazar and the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon. Say that you heard that according to Rabbi Tarfon, the owner pays the full cost of the damage. But did you hear that according to Rabbi Tarfon, restitution is paid only from the body of the animal that caused the damage? The Gemara answers yes. Rabbi Tarfon holds that restitution is paid only from the body of the animal that caused the damage. From where does Rabbi Tarfon derive the halacha that when damage is caused by an innocuous ox on the property of the injured party, its owner is liable to pay full cost of the damage and not merely half? He derives it via an a fortiori inference from damage categorized as goring that is caused in the public domain as explained in the Mishnah 24b. Dayo labo min hadin lihiyos kanidon. This is a famous klal in Shas. It's good to understand it. Dayo lavo min hadin lihiyos kanidon. His ruling is based on the principle that it is sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from an a fortiori inference to be like the source, but not more than the source. Okay. What this means is that if a halacha derived from a kal v'chomer inference, an a fortiori inference, cannot be more stringent than the source of that derivation. Since restitution for damaged categorized as goring is caused in the public domain is paid from the body of the damaging animal, the same is true with regards to restitution for damage categorized as goring that is caused on the property of the injured party. Okay, it's simply that if A is stronger than B and B can pick it up, if B is weaker than A and B can pick it up, and B can pick up something, then A who is much stronger than B, no, who's a little bit stronger than B, can pick up something that is much, much heavier. No. Basically, whatever. I can't find an example right now, but basically, whatever you're learning from the kal v'chomer, you can't learn a higher thing than the thing. Okay. The Gemara asks, but isn't it clear that from the Mishnah or Tarfon does not accept the principle of Dayo? It is sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from an a fortiori inference to be like the source, as if he accepted that principle, not only would he hold that payment is from the body of the animal, he would also require payment of half the cost of the damage. The Gemara answers he does not reject the principle. When he does not accept the principle, it is sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from an a fortiori inference to be like its source. It is in the case where the result of rejecting the principle is that the a fortiori inference is refuted. But in a case where the result of rejecting the principle is that the a fortiori inference is not refuted, but will be applied in a more limited fashion, he accepts the principle. It is sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from an a fortiori inference to be like its source. Therefore, in this case, the payment of the full cost of the damage, which is derived by means of the a fortiori inference, is paid only from the body of the animal based on the principle that it is sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from an a fortiori inference to be like its source. The Gemara discusses the matter itself. Cited earlier, Rava raises a dilemma. Is there forewarning for propelling pebbles so that the owner would pay the full cost of the damage if he had been forewarned 3 times? Or is there no forewarning for propelling pebbles, as he will always pay half the cost of the damage? The Gemara elaborates, do we liken the case of propelled pebbles to damage categorized as goring? Accordingly, when an innocuous ox causes damage by propelling pebbles, its owner pays half the cost of the damage, and when a forewarned ox does so, the owner pays the full cost of the damage. Or perhaps it is a subcategory of the primary category of trampling, which is deemed forewarned from the outset. Accordingly, the owner would always pay half the cost of the damage, as there is no change in status after the 3rd warning. Tashema. The Gemara suggests, come and hear the resolution of this dilemma from a brisa. Hidus einamuad. With regard to hopping, a chicken is not deemed forewarned, and some say that it is forewarned. The Gemara questions the formulation of the brisa. Does it enter your mind to raise the possibility that a chicken is not forewarned with regard to hopping? Hopping is the typical manner of movement for chickens. Rather, is it not that the reference in the Braita is to a case where the chicken was hopping and propelled pebbles that caused damage? What is it not referring to a case where the chicken has done so 3 times? And it is with regard to this that they disagree. One sage holds there is forewarning for pebbles, and one sage holds there is no forewarning for pebbles. According to this analysis, Rava's dilemma is the subject of a Tannaitic dispute. The Gemara rejects this resolution. No. Perhaps the reference in the Braita is to a case where the chicken is hopped only one time. The chicken hopped only one time, and the Tanaim disagree with regard to the issue that is the subject of the dispute between Sumchus and the rabbis concerning the compensation for damage caused by pebbles. Tashema, the Gemara suggests, come and hear the resolution to the dilemma from a Amoraic dispute. If an animal dropped excrement onto dough and damaged it, Rabbi Yehuda says the owner of the animal pays the full cost of the damage, and Rabbi Elazar says he pays half the cost of the damage. What? Is it not referring to a case where the animal has done so 3 times? And it is with regard to this that they disagree, as one sage holds there is forewarning for pebbles, and one sage holds there is no forewarning for pebbles. The Gemara rejects this resolution. Let's see how we are in time here. We can do it, I think. Let's fly. No, perhaps the reference in the Braita is to a case where the animal dropped excrement only one time, and the time disagree with regard to the issue that is subject to a dispute between Sumchus and the rabbis concerning compensation for damage by pebbles. The Gemara asks, but isn't this a typical behavior of the animal? Since all behavior that deviates from the norms classified within the category of goring, the owner should be liable to pay only half the cost of the damage. The Gemara answers, the case is one where the animal was forced into a narrow place and had no alternative to relieving itself onto the dough. Therefore, it does not constitute a typical behavior. The Gemara asks, but if the Amoraic dispute parallels the Tannaitic dispute, let Rabbi Yehuda say that the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Sumchus, and let Rabbi Elazar say the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, instead of stating their dispute is in context of the particular case of the animal and the dough. The Gemara answers, it was necessary for them to state their dispute in this case, as there is a novel element concerning excrement. It would enter your mind to say, since the excrement is drawn after the body of the animal, its legal status is like that of the damage caused by its body, not like pebbles propelled by the animal. Therefore, their stating the dispute with regard to excrement teaches us that its status is like that of propelling pebbles. Therefore, the dispute between Rav Yehuda and Rabbi Elazar can be explained as parallel to the dispute between Sumchus and the rabbis with regard to pebbles. Tashema, the Gemara suggests, come here, a resolution to the dilemma from a Braita. Rami Bar Yecheskel taught, in the case of a rooster that extended its head into the airspace of a glass vessel and crowed in the vessel and broke it. Crowed, like Russell crowed in it and broke it with sound waves. The owner pays the full cost of the damage. And Rav Yosef said that the sages from the school of Rav say if a horse neighed or a donkey brayed and the sound waves broke vessels, the owner pays half the cost of the damage. These are cases similar to the case of pebbles, and there is a dispute between the sages with regard to these cases. My lav, kagon, to Avad Talsad Zimni, what is it not referring to a case where the rooster or the animal had done so 3 times? We made it on time. We mamish made it on time. With a good 30 seconds left to go.